The Obamacare Pajama Boy is back and just in time to ruin yet another Thanksgiving. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. And if you're not a member, click over, become one, or make a one-time donation. Either way, we really need your help to get the message out. But let's get back to our subject, shall we? Gentlemen, as you know, I write a daily column for Pajamas Media called Insanity Wrap. And as part of that, I have to collect all the craziest stories 5 days a week, and I love it. But, oh man, just the last 2-3 days, the stories have been coming in one after another about all these well-meaning progressives trying to teach people how to talk to their stupid, square, behind-the-times parents about politics at Thanksgiving. Oy, of all the things to be thankful for. Get out of my house. No, you don't have to do that. If you don't remember the Pajama Boy, he's a guy from that Obamacare little propaganda piece with a little caption, wear pajamas, drink hot chocolate, tell your stupid parents about the benefits of Obamacare. And this poor soy boy with his extremely arch and overly plucked eyebrows, you wanted to beat him with a cinder block. And really, a pencil eraser would have gotten the job done. So let me give you the latest example. Bill, that's the one. I love this. Bill, we're going to go to you first. Emma Camp, a young lady who knows everything because she's a sophomore now at the University of Virginia. She wrote for the Cavalier Daily, when we sit silent over our uncle's QAnon rants or our high school friend's xenophobic comments, it shows that we value our own comfort over what we know to be our ethical duty. And she goes on in a similar vein throughout this editorial, saying that, maybe you do all these progressive things in your free time, but what are you doing to bother your parents that you just traveled a couple of 100 miles to see as they spent 3 days making this bountiful feast for you? So, Bill, I guess my question is, would it be fair to call Emma Camp and her well-meaning fellow travelers preening ill-mannered little snots?
Oh, they're worse than that.
Oh, good.
What she's basically saying is, why, please, someone explain to me, why do we put our family above our party directives? That's the statement. That's the statement she's making. Yeah. Why on earth do we ever consider that the people who are flesh and blood and the people that raised us and basically sacrificed their entire lives so that we could have every single benefit, why do we put them ahead of what our political agenda is handed down to us by our college professors? What kind of horrible people are we? This is welcome to collectivism. This is what collectivism does. This is what happens. You always have. Here's the most remarkable thing about, and when I say I was liberal, I was never progressive. I always loved the country, always loved the military, always loved business. But the thing that is most striking to me about the opinions that I held in college is I am astonished about how little I actually knew about these things that I believe so passionately about. I am absolutely astonished at how little I knew. Now, part of this is growing up. Part of the being launched from the nest is it's programmed into our genes. There comes a point where you got to believe that everything your parents ever thought or did was square and old, and you've gone to college and now you know things that they could have never known, and blah, 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 blah. And you don't know nothing, you crazy old man. And we're going to change the world, like it, and no matter how many times you tell people like this fascist, that Dad had a point, and so did Mom, when they thought they were going to go change the world too, and called their parents idiots. That's lost on them. And if you should ever have children, which seems unlikely given your personality, your children will have that same comment about you. Trust me, that's a coming. But all of this to say that this is what you get with this particular philosophy. You really, if you want to see what happy people look like, I know it's going to be a strange thing to say, but I mean it seriously. If you want to know what happiness looks like in terms of the real world, you really need to go back and watch the first 15 or 20 minutes of the 1979 Superman movie. You need to watch it before Superman appears. You need to watch it before Christopher Reeve even gets on the screen. Because the first 20 or 30 minutes, it's almost 30 minutes of that movie, are about young Clark Kent, who can do anything is being restrained by his own morality. And there's a scene where he's made fun of, and he's the water boy on the team, because if he's not the water boy on the team, then he is going to win the state national championship. He's going to be drafted into the NFL at age 13. And so he's dealing with the disappointment and the frustration of this. And he's walking home with Glenn Ford, and Glenn Ford puts his arm around him and says, "Son, you're here for bigger things than scoring touchdowns, don't you think?" And it's just released. And the reason that's so important is because that is what the relationship between parents and children should be, and always should be. It's not a surprise that happens on a farm, because on a farm, you don't get to send your kids away. You get to see them every night and every day, and you work with them in the fields and all the rest of it. But the reason that comes from the farm is because the farm is a family. It can't survive if it doesn't. You're not hiring, Santa Monica graphic designers at $90 an hour. And so it has to work, and people have to talk to each other. And for this little Hitler Youth, the pioneers, Hitler Youth, the Red Guard, all of it. The goal of the collective is to turn the children against their parents when they are biologically primed to do so. So I'll just say that. And furthermore, I'll also say one last thing. It is ironic and strange and destructive, but it's been the case forever. I don't know why they send us off to college at precisely the age when we are least equipped to learn anything. That is a mystery that I will never solve.
That is a beautiful observation. Deeply and correctly cynical, I might add. Scott, Debbie Lee Kennan. She is apparently one of the leaders of the anti-bias education movement. If you want to know why school costs so much and kids learn so little, there you go, right there. She says the traditional Thanksgiving presents the U.S. history from one perspective, that of the European colonists, and not the indigenous people who were living here for thousands of years. She goes on to say we should provide our children with accurate information, and the themes around Thanksgiving are opportunities for both parents and children to unlearn any stereotypes or inaccuracies in history. I'll take issue with her summation of the holiday. But let me ask you this, Scott. Every country has its various founding myths, and Thanksgiving is a really nice one. Even if it isn't entirely true, even if there are some stereotypes, which, by the way, play to both sides, whether it's the American Indians or the Pilgrims themselves. They were not wearing buckle shoes and buckle hats and all the rest. But it's a really nice myth in that different people got together peacefully to share this amazing bounty that this land provided. Shouldn't we be celebrating that wonderful myth?
Well, most of us are. And most of us are not paying attention to these people who are trying to find a way to ruin every perfectly good thing that they can find. And I'm sure it's not just, related to political issues. They probably have a pattern of doing this throughout their lives. When you guys were talking, it reminded me a couple of things. One is a friend of mine who I was having a phone call with, and told me that he was so upset about his liberal daughter and her husband that he announced that he wasn't going to go to Thanksgiving dinner. And I said, shut up, hang up, pick up the phone, call your daughter and tell her you're coming to her house for Thanksgiving. She's your daughter.
Yeah.
Grow up. It's like, and then the other thing was, my own grandfather, when I was coming home from college, so full of knowledge that it spilled over onto him and made a mess of his sofa, that I constantly engaged him in conversations that I knew would result in arguments. I'd take every minute of that back if I could. I'd take every word back if I could have just told myself to shut up and listen to a man who has lived through the Great Depression, who grew up on a farm, who fought in World War II, who transformed every community he ever lived in by creating youth organizations and starting football teams and baseball teams and running dances for teenagers when they didn't have anything to do that was safe and wholesome. And if I had just been able to shut my fat mouth and listen to that man, I wish I could listen to him now.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people who thinks that your time is best spent with your ancestors, teaching them how ignorant they are and how bright you are and how wrong they can be, what will you be thinking when you're standing by the box, looking down at their inanimate bodies? Will you wish you could have another fight about politics? I don't think so.
What's that line, Steve? You know, it's been attributed to so many people. Everything's attributed to Mark Twain, and I'm just fine with it. But the line is, you know, I got into an argument with my father when I was 17, and I couldn't believe how stupid he was. And I came back and talked to him again when I was 30 and I have kids. And man, did that guy get wiser in the last 12 years.
Yes. And by the way, Bill, thank you for sharing that story. Number one, because I love it so much. Number two, because Scott got me all choked up and I didn't have to speak there for 30 seconds and I really needed that. Listen, if your Uncle Lou is one of those guys who gets a little drunk at Thanksgiving and starts ranting on about politics, leave him alone. Eventually the booze and the tryptophan will kick in and he'll pass out very soon, I promise. And I always kind of looked at people who bring up politics on nice occasions like Thanksgiving. You know, you treat it kind of like when grandma passes gas. You just pretend it didn't happen and it'll be gone soon enough. That said, I'm not going to kick anybody out of my house for getting in my face about politics. It's a little more understanding than that, or at least I try to be. However, let me give you some advice for how to deal with the person who won't let the moment pass, who insists on ruining Thanksgiving dinner. And the best part about my little advice here is it's actually Wuhan virus friendly. What I want you to do no, it seriously is. It encourages social distancing. I want you to set a second Thanksgiving table. Now, I don't mean the kids' table in the kitchen nook or anything like that. I mean a picnic table outside. Give them some plastic silverware and all that. And if they want to go and rant on about politics and how stupid you are for bringing them over to your home and cooking them all this food, they are welcome to do that outside with their own plate of food. And I would do just one other thing. Just advise you to do one other thing while your uncooperative guest is enjoying their meal outside alone. Pray for rain. That's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Listen, we've had some great membership growth in the last couple of weeks. We need more of your support, so please click on the giant join button over at BillWhittle.com or click the one-time donation button. That works too. We love your support. We need your support. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.